Hi, this is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. I saw in the news this morning that three U.S. generals have warned us all, the United States, that a civil war is probably going to be breaking out soon. They're concerned about the military. They're concerned about warning people and trying to figure out how to stop the problem is something that our existing structure can't handle. So today I wanted to talk about how to stop the civil war that's coming. I've been working on a project that is it's something I've talked about lots of time called the World Peace Marketing Strategy. You have to remember, please, that everything that I do myself is very amateur quality. I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I'm not a graphic artist, but I have to do something with graphic arts, and what I have to do is allow somebody else to come in and bring this in. Do it better than I can. When somebody stands up and protests and says, those are really bad signs, well, go ahead, help me come up with a better sign. So that's how that works. I'm an amateur publisher, but so I'm only selling my books to the independent members and coming in and letting them, as they come in, then I'll sell my books to them, and then the professional publishing team will take the idea further, because that's their job to do that. You can say they can support the organization by doing that. That's what I wanted to talk about right now, is how to stop this civil war that's coming. Okay, through this World Peace Marketing Strategy idea, this creates a network of people and nations all working together based on the principles of the cooperation of nature. People have to be squeezed to join. Okay, so wouldn't you say that we're kind of like being squeezed now? We've been hoping and praying and having all of our fingers crossed that the next election would be better, and then get the scoundrels out, that kind of thing. But it isn't working that way. It's almost like it's continuing to get worse. So this is going to be just a very small a video today about how to stop the civil war. And that is with the World Peace Marketing Strategy. The Democrats, this divides the schism. I've talked about the schism, how it's divided people into four groups. Those who stand on the principles, and this is Armageddon. So when somebody stands on the principles, then another person goes down into the power games. And then people's lives are affected, and then the people who function for their own interests. Well, I'm going to tell you something here that is kind of interesting about how this works, is that the first group of people stand on the principles. Let's say just clumping people into general ideas. The Democrats are focused on principles, and the Republicans are focused on money and power. When the Democrats stand on the principles, the Republicans go down into the games, and it's been this battle going on for a long time. I'm an independent. I'm neither a Republican or a Democrat. I like some things the Republicans do and some things the Democrats do. And I don't support either side, really. I don't even really vote for people. I mostly vote for based on the principles of my life has been affected on it. So that's how I do the same thing with these videos. When I see something out there right now, because the contingency has not been met for the plan for world peace, then what I'm doing is I'm standing on the principles, I'm reacting to it, and explaining how these ideas can work. So how will this help? Excuse me. The four groups of people, the people who stand on the principles like the Democrats, their life, basically, as they stand on the principles, they're losing their foundation. The Republicans are causing problems. It's like it's costing too much money. We can't deal with that. We don't want the Build Back Better plan. We don't want this. And, that it's like people who are causing problems. You know what's going on. The third group of people like me our lives have been affected. We're watching this battle going on between the Republicans and the Democrats. And we're saying, I wish we could do something about it, but we can't. There's nothing we can tip the independents, tip the election one way or the other. Okay, but now what's happening is the people who normally don't have anything to do with the whole thing, with the elections, and are going in. Donald Trump fits into the fourth group, people who function for their own interests. All of this information, all the intelligence that's coming out saying, well, he did this to get money for his put it in his own pocket for his own business, that he's a grifter and all these things. So he fits into the fourth group of that. The fourth group of people are a function. They basically, this is going to, the World Peace Marketing Strategy says, they are the light bearers for their own culture. So who listens to Donald Trump? Let's say the people who want to be like him, who are watch The Apprentice, and they as they watch The Apprentice, they were getting ideas about how to run their own business, how to be make a lot of money based on their own interests and things like that. So they watched it and they learned. Donald Trump goes out and he has his voice and he's learning. So this fits all into this whole structure. But they're 180 degrees, so they're spouting off not light, they're in the dark. They're in the darkness. They don't understand that what they're talking about doesn't make sense to anybody else because they're 180 degrees. They're the ones who start rebellions because their lives have been affected. Basically, people who start rebellions, people who kill other people, do it because they feel that they've lost their life. It's not that they're standing on the principles of their life. They haven't just learned how to do it yet. They haven't figured out how to make it happen. So the third group of people like me, the independents, the people whose lives have been affected, are the ones who become the teachers to those people. Okay, so I can't get Joe Biden to listen to me. He's got his own agenda. He's got a plan. He's not interested in the plan. The Democrats are not interested because they think what they're doing is working. It isn't until what they're doing stops working, when George Bush, but he's not a Democrat, he's a Republican, when the idea of regime change or doing the things, when what you're doing stops working, then you have to figure out what will work. So when Congress, for example, is fighting, basically balanced and deadlocked, basically it's a constitutional amendment that moves them forward. They have to resolve this deadlock because there isn't anybody who's going to give up what they believe. All right, so now what's happening now is to stop this civil war, to stop the rebellion from becoming a civil war, and all these people fighting for their lives, which eventually what will happen is because what about the people when the economy goes down the tube and people are hoarding, and what happens when the climate crisis goes crazy and people are starting to walk north to the Arctic region because it's too hot around here, and all of these problems are not being resolved. The international government can solve those problems, but how do you get people to work together? People have to be squeezed to participate in this framework. So now, this is what we're going to do, is we're going to start working to set up these programs, and the people who stand on the principles will go this top route. The second route will be the people who are financially affected. The third group will be whose lives are affected. And I'm like standing on the principles of this idea. And then The fourth group are the people who are the light bearers, or the light bearers, but they're in the darkness now. Even the light bearers in the darkness. So you get somebody like the conspiracy theorists, for example. How many conspiracy theorists are there? It's because they're conspiracy theorists because they're backwards. People look at me and say I'm a conspiracy theorist. No, basically I'm just sharing the information that I learned, and then when I'm reacting to something, I'm explaining things. Okay, this is what I learned at the prayer circle. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I sound like it sometimes. All right, so that's where we are now, is we're going to use this world peace marketing strategy to stop the war. Okay, if you are in a situation where Donald Trump is right now, okay, this bottom row right here, there's a row of projects. These are projects and lessons, classes, lessons that, okay, for example, I'll share you with the first one. If you have a what can I do catalog, what can I do? I'm somebody who stands on principles. What can I do? Everything is falling apart. My life is falling apart. This catalog, there's at the first and the second group, both share the same idea. This catalog, the short and the long version, this is the one that starts out where this whole thing builds enables the person who's lost his foundation. Let's say Joe Biden or Bernie Sanders is having problems getting people like Joe Manchin to go along with this idea. That's because they all have different focuses. So how does Bernie Sanders, who had so much support for a while, rebuild his foundation again? His financial and his foundation, but Congress foundation, the Democratic Party, or he runs as an independent too, and caucuses with the Democrats. So this catalog is for Bernie Sanders. Okay, in a way, it's also part of it is also designed for the Faith of the Puree, which is the second one. The second group of people, they relied on the first group of people for their financial support, like a husband and wife. And when the husband decided to got squeezed out of his job, all of a sudden, and she's not capable of functioning on her own, then the Faith of the Puree allows her to understand that it's possible for her to create her own life based on the planning process and the principles that the seven major religions teach. Then it goes across step by step, and by the time you get done, okay, by the time each of these people go through this gate, this path, so to speak, they get the life that they want. They've created the life that they've always wanted. The third group is, who will help me get the life I want? How about the person who's the independent, who's already, I can share this information with people, I can teach one of these classes or work on one of these projects, and then, or the overview idea of these projects, which is what I'm doing now, and then we can stop the Civil War, because we're unifying people that everybody's being squeezed now by all these existential threats, and then it allows everybody to function on a higher level, to get the life they've always wanted. The fourth group of people, that's a very difficult one, because they're the ones who start rebellions. And one of the problems that they get is by functioning for your own interests, you have to turn that around and function in everybody's best interest, and it's really hard to get them to change what they believe. Okay, so this group down here, a lot of them are going to end up in jail, in prison for what they've done. But what will happen is, this explains to them how certain groups of the people become light bearers to those people who are in crisis. You look at people like the Republicans who have the former Republicans who basically got squeezed out, and now they're kind of talking about Republicans, and they're going back and talking to people and explaining to people, but they don't always know what to say. And that's what these the third level classes are designed to show people and to demonstrate that it's possible to get their life by going through these classes. So I'm in the process of setting up a website and the classes and things like that. It's been very difficult to get anybody to function basically to do this. So I've had people who function for their own interests and people who are out and doing some really terrifying things, harassing me for a long time, the boogeymen, so to speak, of the planning process. And you'll find out more about that when you go around with the planning process. Okay, and we'll go into that. My books and the classes and everything, we'll go into that. So I have to set up the crisis center. And then when we go out and do our tent tour, which is also part of the Track Our Progress, we'll be setting up these classes in cities around the United States. So that's where we are now, and we'll help by setting up the classes and by having the channels have to come in first, the prophets have to come in first, and then we'll help do that. If somebody comes in who is trying to steal the idea or whatever, they only function for their own interests, and basically they cannot make it happen. As I said before, it's like they spiral down instead of spiraling up. So the first principle, as I've talked about lots of times with my oatmeal box free power source invention, the most important relationship that you have to cut through all the illusion is with God, and the God has to stand in the principles of universal law. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You can cut through a whole bunch of illusion just by that idea. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That is what turns people around better than just about anything else. So I'd like to just cut this short because this is a very big subject, and I want to keep this short for people to know that it is possible to stop the Civil War, but we got to get on it right now. Okay? So, thank you. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe.